Hi, I'm Bob Jeffy from the Daily Dad Jokes podcast. You're listening to Pods Like Us. By the way, do you know where whales and dolphins get their news? From podcasts. Bye for now.
Hello and welcome to Pods Like Us. I'm Martin Quibell, known to my friends as Marv.
And I'm Louise. This time we're talking to Sanjida from Sanjida Sayz. Hey Sanjida, thanks for speaking with us today.
Thanks for having me.
So how were you first introduced to podcasting?
Well, one of my uncles actually has his own podcast called Psychology Cast, and he thought, he suggested for me to do my own, and that's how I started.
I love psychology, it's fascinating. Know what makes people tick.
Mm-hmm.
So what made you decide to actually do the show that you do then? Because initially it was just speaking about thoughts and, basically we're going to hit points 2 and 3, I think, in one going. About your thoughts and about what life is like, because originally you were still in, you were younger and you were in school. I think you were 14 when you started, something like that, yeah?
Yeah, I was.
So what inspired you to do a show that was about that? And then over the years, you've added other elements such as your great story writing as well, and read your stories out on the show as well. So what was the impetus behind that?
Well, I wanted to combine something that people, for example, with my name, I wanted to combine something that people are familiar with and something people aren't used to. So, like Simon Says.
Yeah.
Everyone knows about that. So I was like, why does Simon have to say anything? How about Sanjida? So that's how
catchy.
That's how I got Sanjida Sayz. And, I wanted to, and that's also like a way for me to represent the communities that I'm a part of. I'm a 17-year-old British Bangladeshi Muslim girl with a disability. So, and like, I wanted to represent that. So, yeah. And with my stories and stuff, I was like, my voice is, like the people that I represent, my voice is unique. And not a lot of people know about children like me, about people like me. So why not get that out there? And I've always liked writing anyway.
So how do you choose what topics you're going to talk about in your show?
Well, I like to think about 2 things. What can you learn and what can you share? In season 4 especially, I'm asking people as a way of getting them involved and getting their voices heard.
Do you script your show or do you just improvise and just go with it?
Well, it's a bit of both. I have a few notes so I don't go off topic, but sometimes if there's a recent topic I want to mention, for example, the death of the Queen, I will talk about it and schedule it for the next episode. But yeah, it's nice to have something to go off of.
Yeah.
So would you say there are any standout episodes or subjects that you've discussed in your show where you just thought that you hit a specific really good mark or that's just memorable?
Well, I would say the ones where I talk about my disability, really.
Yeah.
The first one I made was called Cystic Hygroma, My Story, and that featured my own mum. And she talked about what it's like to have a child, me, growing up disabled, and what it's like for other perspectives, like other people that see me and know me. And I think a lot of people were like, because they didn't know that I had a disability before that, or like any details about it, what I've been through. So that really shocked people. And then a few weeks ago, or a few months ago, I done a second part to it because I was like, there's more I want to share. It just can't be all wrapped up in one episode.
So, for want of a better way to put this, how would you describe your disability? Because I think that there needs to be awareness of this because I think it's a very little known condition.
So I have a disability called cystic hygroma, and that basically affects my breathing and it causes me pain sometimes. As a result, because of surgeries and operation, it's left a couple of scars on my neck. But yeah, I mean, mostly people can't see it because I wear the hijab for staff. So,
Yep.
But yeah, that's what it is. So I'm still alive.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh.
It is. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if it's a bit sort of not a right thing to ask, but if you didn't have to wear that, how would you feel if people could actually see your scars?
If I didn't have to wear the hijab, then honestly, I've had that when I was young because, of course, a lot of the operations happened when I was a kid. So I kind of I've already had to experience that. And I do get comments. I did get comments when I was a kid. And some were negative, some were positive, but you kind of learn how to deal with them because not everybody is intending to be, mean. They're just genuinely interested. They just have to respectfully speak to them and educate them because essentially they don't know.
I think children can be very cruel.
Honestly, as kids, we're very insensitive because sometimes we just don't get it, especially something as rare as my disability. That's something children can't understand that in a certain level.
I think it's just sort of ignorance and the fact that they don't understand it, so they just try to deal with it in other ways because they don't understand and they don't take the time to find out about you, and
Yeah, that's why it's important to educate.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to make up for the fact sometimes of some people's ignorance in these situations as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it a common condition or is it quite a rare thing?
I said it's quite rare. Having said that, I do know maybe one or two people that have it, but it's called cystic hygroma, and I was told that is quite rare. So yeah.
Do you think that's a really good reason sort of to bring it to the forefront to make people more aware of it because it's not very common?
Absolutely, because I don't want anyone to not understand because that creates a certain tension. I noticed that when I talk to like anybody, no matter whether you're my age or not, you're my ethnicity or not, my family, whatever. There is a tension that comes with that because they don't know how to approach me and how to speak about it without disrespecting me. And I get it, it's fine. So the more that people are aware of it, the more people that know, the better understanding they have, then the easier the conversations become when you talk about disability.
Yeah.
Do you think knowing a couple of people with the same disability helps? I don't like saying the word disability nowadays. Do you think it helps you, or as a group of you, do you think it helps that you're chatting with each other and it helps you to be able to work out how to explain to people about it?
Yeah, it does, because that's other people I know have similar experiences, and then from those experiences I can learn and I can teach other people about what I've been through.
Yeah.
Hi, this is Zach from Belated Binge Harry Potter, and you're listening to Pods Like Us.
So how do you record the show and then edit the show together?
Well, I have this app that I use called Anchor, and it's basically you record your podcast episodes then, and then I would record it and have my notes with me and say what I need to say, and then I might add a sound effect or something, and then I can rearrange it, listen to it, because I don't want to put all my BTS and my bloopers in there, and then I'll schedule a date to publish it. And I'll do that probably a couple of times a week in advance for the next month.
Okay. So are there any tips? I mean, I don't want you to do an entire show or that right now, because that'd be a bit cheeky. But are there any tips that you would have for teenagers or young adults, for specific pressures that are around in the world at the moment?
Yeah. Honestly, at this age and even younger, all we ever want to do is fit in, especially in high school. And that causes us to go towards maybe a group of people that don't make good decisions, but you go with them to be more popular, to be liked. But you see, you need to stay true to yourself and keep good people around you, and you'll be fine. Eventually, as you grow up, I want people to understand that popularity fades away and it's temporary. And people don't care eventually. Also, you're young. It's okay to mess up on stuff you're learning. You can't have expectations about things that you don't know about yet because that makes no sense. If you have no knowledge in the field, then you shouldn't have any expectations. You should just do what feels right. When I started the podcast, I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't even publish an episode until a few months because I was so self-critical of myself, and I expected so much better when I made my first episode. But then I realized there's room for growth. I just started, so encourage yourself.
Must be a lot of pressure with people your age with social media and Instagram and all that sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's got an opinion and everyone feels like they need to say their opinion, which is a problem, I think. But you don't have to listen to all of it. It's your choice.
Yeah.
Life is 90% of how you react to it, 10% what happens.
Yeah, but the popularity thing, what you were saying, the expectations, it's a thing of the world. And social media in itself is a problem where people are too, or some people are too stuck in following whatever the media and the social media are saying this is the way it should be, whereas it's not. It should be you are who you decide to be yourself.
Yeah, 100%. Like, I think, what makes you who you are is your surroundings, the people that you're with, the interactions you have with other people, and your childhood essentially. And then as you grow up, that continues. And you shouldn't look to social media and these influences and people that you don't know about. You think you know them, but what you see is their highlights. You don't see the behind the scenes. You don't see these bloopers and whatever. Like, you only see the best parts of them. And for you to be a version of someone else that doesn't exist is impossible.
Yeah, I think it's something that's caused a lot of the there's been a rise noticeably of mental illness and of people basically living with stress and depression. And I wouldn't be surprised if that goes hand in hand, the rise of social media, doing this to people.
Yeah, because I think everything on social media, everything is edited, it's changed to make something look better than it actually is. And that becomes the expectation for other people when the other side of the world, they're not even living in reality. Like, what they post is not actually how their life is. Honestly, like, even in my podcast, I post on my Instagram and I make all these TikToks and all that stuff. But my life isn't constantly like that. I'm not always posing for pictures. There's no cameras following me around. I'm not that famous yet.
I think a lot of people are trying to make their lives out to be more interesting than they actually are. It's just a front, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a photoshopped world, should we say?
Yeah, it's fake. Yeah. It's fake,
But when you were saying about the first episode, though, I mean, that's sort of, you've probably found out, I would have thought that's similar with everybody, where they have these first episode jitters, and also the fact that it's famous around podcasters that your first episode is very rarely your best episode.
Yeah, of course, because you improve as you go along.
Yeah.
Hey, this is Brian with Concerts That Made Us podcast, and you're listening to Pods Like Us, a great show about other great shows.
So, what advice would you give to people if they wanted to do their own podcast?
Well, I would say, like, common worries are like about someone's voice. A lot of people say, "Oh, I don't like my voice, so I'm not going to do it." Listen, nobody likes their voice. Nobody, nobody, because the way that you sound or the way that you think you sound, it's not the same as what everyone else hears. Like, have you ever tried to record yourself singing or just talking in general, and then you heard it back and it's like, what on earth am I listening to? Like, who is she? Who are they?
Yeah, it's like a totally different person.
No one likes your voice unless you're a bit arrogant. And
Yeah.
So but don't worry about it. It's not about how you sound, it's about what you say and how you say it. And another thing is the confidence of publishing. You just got to do it. You never know until you try, and that's simple. And lastly, there's always room for improvement.
Yeah, I mean the publishing, putting it out there that the shows. It's an interesting one because you'll put them out and you think, I'm not so sure about that, and then when you get feedback, that's like a magic moment when people will get back in touch with you and say, that episode that you did, that really spoke to me, and that's when it's like a wow moment. You think, wow, I thought that was a bit rubbish actually, but you don't tell them that.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I've had some of my cousin's friends who, like, they listen to my podcast. They say certain episodes and certain topics, when you speak on your podcast, it feels like someone's talking to you, like a call like this, or like, on FaceTime or something. And I really appreciate that. But usually when they say that, it's the episodes that I thought, oh, I didn't even think that was amazing. But if you guys thought that, that's great. And, stuff like that. People will like different things. So, don't stop. Just keep improving.
Yeah, I mean, one of your episodes, we're coming towards the end there, and then I've just suddenly thought this. One of the episodes that really jumped out at me is when you've spoken with your mum, when you've had your mum on the show, and there's like something really fascinating about you and your mum having a chat, and the information that you discuss, and your history, because it goes into that as well. But also there's a lovely warmth between you and your mum when you spoke on the show as well. And I mean, have you thought about carrying on with that and doing that a bit more, of having people on there?
Yeah, having people on the show is something that I've always wanted. At the moment, like, I've done this podcast for 3 years now, and it's all about building, like, a presence, an online presence, and an audience. And yeah, I mean, I'm proud to say that my mom is one of the first guests on my show. And, especially in my culture, the South Asian culture, a relationship with the parents is difficult sometimes for reasons such as language barriers. But me and mum don't have a language barrier because she can speak full English and so do I. And she just gets me like that. So, yeah, I would love to have more guests on the show, and I'm happy that my mum was one of them.
Now that you're out, put yourself out there doing a podcast, do you find people coming to you for advice and things?
Not as much. Some people will, and some people will like just genuinely speak about it and like about like one specific episode, for example, and they'll like ask me to expand and we'll have a conversation about that. But I do get people coming up to me and saying, "Oh my God, are you Sanjida Sayz? No way. Do you say, wait, is it Sayz with a Z at the end? Let me follow you. Oh my God." And I'm like, okay, because I don't know what to say. I'm like, I've not had this experience and I'm really not a celebrity, darling, but thank you.
That's good. So where can people find you and how can they get hold of you?
Well, I'm available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Anchor, and so much more platforms. Those are the ones I'm usually on, though.
Yep, and you also have Instagram and TikTok?
Yeah, I do. Instagram and TikTok, Sanjida Sayz with a Z at the end.
Okay, well, thank you for speaking with us today, Sanjida.
Thank you. It's been really great.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This is great.
Okay. You can find Pods Like Us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and anywhere where you can find podcasts, really. And you can find us also at Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok. I mix the two together there. And we're contactable through podslikeus@gmail.com. Anyway, thank you everyone for listening, and hope you listen again to another episode of Pods Like Us.